Blu Tack Studio envisions a gamified future, absorbing cultural trends and insights like Blu Tack, picking up objects, creating diverse and innovative works of art and media. Considering the recent shifts online, technological advancements, and the reduction in third spaces and youth funding that impact Generation Alpha, these digital natives face significant changes. Our question arises: how would social media influence Gen Alpha's dynamic identity and behaviors after 10 years, which living in the city? We aim to explore how social media affect Gen Alpha's dynamic identities long-term. By anticipating these changes, we can create strategies that support their positive growth and well-being in a digital world. Social media. Platforms for creating, sharing, and interacting with content to build community. Dynamic identity. Identities evolve, enabling users to display various personas across social media platforms. Algorithm. Rules social media uses to customize content for users based on their activity. Audience. Generation Alpha, born between 2010 and 2024, is the first generation to grow up entirely as digital natives. Our audience primarily consists of Gen Alpha residing in London and Beijing. Their understanding of the world is enhanced by the interconnectedness provided by the internet. Growing up during the pandemic, their experiences and perspectives are uniquely influenced by global events and the technological landscape surrounding them. Hindsight. We discovered social, technological, environmental, economic, and political global drivers that are pushing this shift in their identity and behavior. Social. From IRL to URL. The lockdown has pushed Gen Alpha into becoming digital natives who are dependent on their phones. Incidents like the Sephora Kids controversy and viral products like Prime Energy Drink serving as status symbols highlight this shift. Influencer marketing might shape their future choices more significantly than it did for Gen Z and millennials. Technological. Hyperconnectivity is our technological driver. 6 billion plus individuals own a smartphone currently, making it easier to connect with anyone around the world. Most children have phone ownership by the age of 7, but by age 11, 90% admitted to having their own devices. Environmental. Losing playgrounds. The UK has seen major cuts in youth services funding, leading to the closure of 480 playgrounds. Places for kids to grow and play are being forgotten. Dr. Helen Dodd, a child psychology professor, highlights that outdoor play helps prevent mental health issues like anxiety and depression, emphasizing the negative impact on child development. Economic. Third space squeeze. England's youth funding has fallen 64% in 2021-22, leading to young people protesting on social media about insufficient social spaces and rising costs. The lack of physical spaces significantly affects children's development. Political. Gen Alpha and age restrictions. A law now requires IDs to access certain online content to protect minors. While it empowers guardians, it also sparks privacy concerns and limits minors to suitable content only. Insight.
For primary research methodologies, we used surveys, audience interviews, and an expert interview involving Gen Alpha from London and Beijing, along with a London primary school teacher.
Insight 1. Gen Alpha's interactions and identity digitalized. What we found was Gen Alpha uses social media as their main socializing tool and splits their identities with different platforms. This means the identities are spread across multiple platforms, with 60% owning more than 4 social media accounts. For example, we interviewed a Gen Alpha that had an interest in being a YouTuber. On one platform, he is a friend to his peers from school, and on YouTube, he was a potential influencer creating his own community by sharing gaming clips. This is positive because it shows how Gen Alpha are fluid in their identity, being able to be multiple versions of themselves authentically. However, it does raise a concern of stress and eventually an overwhelming feeling with having to keep up with the many versions of themselves presented online. Many of the other generations would have fewer platforms to engage with, but Gen Alpha have several popular platforms at once, so early in their childhood. Insight 2. Gen Alpha's trust in algorithms, cross cultures. In London and Beijing, we found that most Gen Alphas are satisfied with algorithms for simplifying content discovery, making it relevant and entertaining and efficient. They said, good, won't get irrelevant content and get content I am more interested in and more relevant to me. And I think it's good that apps recommend content based on our likes, keeping us engaged. Unlike earlier generations wary of data mining and privacy, Gen Alphas view it positively. Despite differences in internet regulations, people in both cities generally consider algorithms helpful. Insight 3. Gen Alpha moving beyond physical socializing. During 2 interviews, Gen Alpha expressed disappointment on the effects social media has had on people in their generation. Whilst they enjoy connecting online and keeping in contact with loved ones, this has also made it hard to move interactions back to the physical. Offline people are on their phones a lot and not talking face to face. An issue one participant has run into is laziness when trying to hang out with others. No one wants to go out. These quotes from our audience interviews validate the struggle Gen Alpha is facing. Foresight. Online third are futures we're exploring for Insight 1, Gen Alpha's digital interactions and identities. As identities become more fragmented across platforms, the role of physical third spaces diminishes. Online third spaces will increase, allowing people to choose their identities daily. People will embrace VR, able to disconnect from unwanted platforms and engage where needed. This shift will enhance well-being and strengthen communities through authentic connections and a form of escapism. Digital connection for Insight 2. The cross-cultural optimism of algorithms and data mining sets up a future where technology is used as a tool to find people who are similar to you. To alleviate Gen Alpha's struggle over a lack of physical interactions in this future, the algorithm that brought individuals together digitally will now bridge that connection to the physical world, making this a preferable future. Transcending the physical for Insight 3. This is the world we speculate for Insight 3. With a lack of physical interaction, the world moves closer to being completely digitalized, where now VR is used to hang out with friends, meeting in line species that were once physical, like a playground, out of convenience. According to our research, this is a possible future, a future that is not necessarily wanted, but one we should prepare for.